I'm trying to be great, and I'm on my way. Way up, way up, way up. It's never too late, and I'm on my way.
I'ma leave my mark. Ready, set, go. Ready, set, go. Ready, set.
With so much negativity being yielded at the youth of our nation, it seems hard to find any signs of a bright future. Coming from a legendary past, the new generation of Bahamians seek to take this nation to heights it's never seen. That's where the youth perspective comes in. We seek to display tomorrow's leaders in every facet of society. Each show will focus on today's pace setters, trendsetters, movers and shakers, and the next generation of great, impactful Bahamians. We seek to uplift, motivate, and encourage our listeners. Tune in as we address issues of importance with wisdom and intelligence, all from the youth perspective. And we're back. Welcome to another edition of the Youth Perspective. Yours truly, Keshagen, Adderley, in your company. All right. Thank you so much for locking it in. Thanks so much for tuning in. And over the last few weeks, we've had a very interesting, different shows that we have had. And I've really done my best to really comb through the events that's happening around town and bring you some persons, bring you some individuals that you could really be inspired by this story. And also, you could be able to support them and what they're going on, all right? And I saw this story absolutely went viral on social media, YouTube, and of course, international stations. And so when I saw him and realized he was Bahamian and he was going to be in Nassau, I said, listen, as soon as you land, as soon as you touch down, come to the station, let's get you on the radio and let's tell persons about your story, all right? And of course, if you haven't heard about him, his name is Elijah Stevens, all right? And he is here with me this evening, joining me on The Youth Perspective. It's so great to have you. How you doing?
Thank you for having me.
All right, it's so great to have you here joining us on The Youth Perspective. Now, for those who haven't heard your story, they haven't seen you, they don't know anything about you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started piano lessons in the 7th grade at age 10.
Mm-hmm.
My church, they wanted a pianist, so they decided to send one of the children out of all of the children to music lessons, and it happened to be me.
Right.
And it changed my life starting music. I immediately fell in love with the instrument. I would spend countless hours practicing. Within 2 years, I became the most advanced student at my music school.
Wow.
And there was just a lot more achievements. I started winning National Arts Festival competitions, and in 2013, I became the first place national winner for the E. Clement Bethel National Arts Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And I also studied with Montreal Roll at Woods Music Academy and Reynolds Robinson at Orchestral School of Music in Freeport. And I ended up having a dream to want to pursue this career seriously and to study abroad. And so I actually ended up being denied from 6 scholarships here in the Bahamas.
Wow.
And I had pretty impressive accolades at that time. I was the deputy head boy. I had 7 BGCSEs. I was even awarded the most outstanding student in excellence in Grand Bahama.
Wow.
And, a lot more. And I still was denied. And I remember just speaking to my family and asking them, so, what are we going to do now? And my mom had always told me, she said, you're not able to really go and pursue this dream because we hadn't saved anything for you.
Right.
And I looked at them in their eyes when they said that, and I told them they had to believe some way, somehow, that something was going to work out.
Right.
And so I reached out, I organized, and I spoke to the school. I told them my story, and they said, in order for you to be considered for scholarships here, you have to come to the school, take an audition, and if you successfully pass one, you may be considered for scholarships. And so what I did at that point was I packed all my belongings and I left for that audition with a little over $100 in my pocket.
Wow.
And just faith and this dream that I want to study at this school. And I had heard that this lady, she was a Russian pianist and that she graduated from some of the top schools. And so I said, I really want to study with her. And I sent her some of my videos and she had actually liked them. And so anyway, I traveled to the school and I took the audition and I had to wait 3 days to hear back the results. On the second day, I got a text from my mom telling me it's time for me to come back home. I went and I tried. It didn't work out. And I said, I'm not coming back until I hear back and until I see this through to the end. And so I was very, determined, and it may even seem like I was sort of rebellious a little bit.
Sound a little bit like that,
Yes. But I remember that night, I just, I started praying, and I was raised in church. And so I had a very strong relationship with God, and that was what I was leaning on the whole time and throughout the whole process. And so I just started praying, and I remember telling God, I need you to make a way. This is something that you put on the inside of me. This is a gift that you have spoken to me about, that you've shown me things about. And so I need something to happen. And, a lot of people are believing with me for this dream. And so, I really need you to show me and to show everyone around me who you are and who you are in my life. And so it was the next day when I got the email from the piano professor there telling me that I got 2 scholarships.
Wow. Not just one.
Yes,
you got 2 scholarships. Wow.
After the deadlines had passed and after school was already a week in, I had gotten 2 scholarships that paid for my schooling. And now today I'm the first person in my family to have went to college and graduated college. I studied at Bethune-Cookman University. And while I was there, I got very much involved. I was president of the Federation of Bahamian Students, president of Club International, Mr. Model United Nations, sophomore class vice president. I was a part of symphonic band, the chorale, a peer mentor, everything. I really got involved. And I also had when I graduated summa cum laude, which is having a GPA of a 3.75 and above.
Wow.
And also the White House recognized me as one of the best and brightest of students in the U.S. For outstanding academics, leadership, and civic engagement through all of the involvement, on campus that I had done. And then also I had won the 2017 James A. Hefner HBCU piano competition, where I won the first 2 top prizes there. And the Daytona Beach News Journal did a front page 6-column story on my whole musical journey, detailing me coming from the Bahamas with just a little over $100 and faith and this dream. And so after graduating, I worked for a while. I got a few jobs in Jacksonville, Florida, between teaching and playing for churches. And then after that, I decided, I had this dream of studying at the Manhattan School of Music. And why I wanted to study there is because I heard that Olga Kern, my idol, was teaching there. And she just had started teaching there in 2017. And Olga Kern is the 2001 Van Cliburn Piano Competition winner. She is one of the world's legendary pianists today. And she just is a gem and a celebrity of pianists. And for me, I've watched her YouTube videos extensively, and one in particular, the first one that I watched was her recording of Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto at the 2001 Van Cliburn Piano Competition. And when I saw that, it just blew me away, her fire and her passion. And from that, I watched it like 200 times. And today, I still watch it for inspiration and motivation. And so I set my eyes on her and on that school. And initially, when I had first applied in 2018, I didn't have the funds to officially submit the application. So even though I submitted it, it never got to the faculty. So the videos that I had submitted with the application never made it to them, so they couldn't see it. And so I had been in conversation with the school to try to accommodate my situation, and eventually it didn't work out. And they just told me that I would have to basically wait for the next round. And I was really disappointed because the time that I was discussing with them, they were still actually doing auditions, and eventually, things, I guess, prolonged, and I ended up hearing back from them, you would have to wait. And so I accepted that for a while, and then I started having dreams, like literal dreams about the school, and some of the dreams would tell me things that I never knew before. It's like the exact tuition amount. I had dreams seeing $65,000 and me asking for this amount. And then I had dreams of exactly what the school looked like. And when I went online, I saw the school, and then I had experiences where I heard God speaking to me, telling me, you're going to move, you're going to go to New York City, you're going to study with Olga Kern at the Manhattan School of Music. And I decided to listen and to follow that. And so I ended up leaving the jobs that I had recently started. I probably was working for about 6 months, and I left just everything behind. And at this point, I was really, for the first time in my life, about to be financially independent of my family. And, I was starting to get good job offers. Even a university, was starting to make an offer to me about a teaching position in music. And, I had to really choose between money and following after, my heart, and what I want to do. And so I decided to go and pursue it. And so I left everything, and I went to the school. I told them my story. The first person I spoke to, I could see the tears in her eyes as she listened to my story. And she was the dean of students there. And she told me, she said, if the school agrees to this, it would be breaking all of their rules and regulations. Jeez. And I also spoke to, so she definitely supported me. And then also the dean of enrollment was another person who supported me. Even the president of the university told me that, he really wanted to have me there. And he also had tears in his eyes too, listening to my story. But the last person who had to make that decision, and he told me, the president, he said, "Now I can't make this decision for the chair of the piano department." He said it's on him, and that he wouldn't override his authority on it. And so when it came to the chair of piano, the chair made the decision that I would have to wait for the next year.
Wow.
And so even after all of that, I ended up having to wait. And I decided, so first of all, that broke me completely. Right. That really destroyed me. And I remember when she brought that news to me, I remember I just was crying, and I ended up like having to leave. Just because I felt like I was really about to start crying, wailing, because of how much it meant to me. Because I drove 16 hours with all of my things, like a complete faith and complete craziness. Like that's the kind of person that I am. And I remember that day I told myself, I said I would never in my life ever do something like that ever again, and that everything from this point on was going to be calculated, planned, and if I couldn't see it physically, then it just wasn't there. I remember telling myself that that's how it was going to be from that point on. And I guess for maybe a couple of days, I was like that, but then after a while, I couldn't stay like that. Yeah. But I still was in a broken place, and I didn't even have the strength to drive back to Florida, or to say come home to the Bahamas after that. And then the whole thing was embarrassing. So I wanted to stay away from everyone. Yeah. And then so I actually ended up staying in New York City. I had to go into the homeless shelters. And so I ended up being in a homeless shelter for 7 months. And that was an extremely tough situation. Wow. And I mean, just the living conditions were horrible, and even the people, the atmosphere, it was so depressing because everyone there is at their lowest point in life, and things even like the smell and the hygiene and all of that, it was really bad. But anyway, I endured it, and I ended up applying for a job. I got it. I started teaching privately, and I used that money to take piano lessons. I took piano lessons with a recent graduate of Manhattan School of Music who had just studied with Olga Kern, and he graduated from the master's program there. And so I reached out to him. I sent him some videos. I told him my story, what had happened, and he was so inspired. And he told me he really saw a lot of potential in my playing, and that he said, "I'll help prepare you for your Manhattan School of Music auditions for that next round." Right. And so that is exactly what he did. And he also wrote my recommendation letter. And my boss, who studied at Mannes School of Music as well as Columbia University, wrote my recommendation letter for Manhattan School of Music as well as Columbia University, which I also applied to. And I found out, Manhattan School of Music brought me in for their live audition, and I took the audition. this past March, the first week of March, I took it. And this past April, I found out that I was accepted into Manhattan School of Music.
Wow. Tremendous.
And so that was great news. I remember that experience of getting that news.
Yeah.
And I also was accepted into Columbia University. And there's a dual degree program between these two schools for masters in classical piano performance as well as music education. And so I also found out that I would get the opportunity. So initially the school told me that I couldn't study with Olga Kern. And they said that her concert schedule is too busy. She only has a handful of students. And they just immediately told me no. And I remember being disappointed about that. Even though I was happy that I got into the school, I was disappointed that I wouldn't get to work with her because that was the whole reason why I wanted to go there to work with her. And so I reached out to her myself, and I told her my story, and I told her everything that I went through. And and I had reached out to her before, and she never responded. But this time she responded. She said, Elijah, I already spoke to the department chairman. I told them that I would be happy to have you in my class.
Right.
And so I'll be studying with her now.
And what we're going to do, we're going to take a break because we want to hear more about this story. Hey, this is good stuff right there, ladies and gentlemen. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a break here. On the Youth Perspective, we're going to come back. We're here with Elijah Stevens. He's telling us about his story, a classical pianist. You heard all the things he went through. And he's also going to tell us about his event that's coming up tomorrow. So you want to make sure, stay tuned. We're coming back with much more on the Youth Perspective. And of course, we're back. Thank you so much for locking it in to the Youth Perspective. And listen, we're joined this episode by the classical pianist himself, Elijah Stevens. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, he's from Freeport, Bahama. And so, of course, he's a native son, and he has an event coming up. But we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We want to get back to the story. And he said basically in the ending of the last part that he was able to work with, I guess, a legend. And being able to work with her at the Manhattan School of Music. So let's jump in from there.
Yeah, so that has really been my dream, and it still doesn't feel quite real yet that I'm gonna be working with someone of her caliber. But yeah, while I was going to the shelter, I had another dream, and the dream that I had was that I saw myself on the news, and the news people or the reporters, they were raving about this young man who had went through the shelters to pursue his dream. And can you believe that is exactly what happened? Whereas now this news, who has 14 million followers worldwide and comes from the creators of the Huffington Post in New York, they did a feature on my story. And because of that, my story basically went viral across social media and in the U.S. as well as here in the Bahamas. And AOL covered it, Bing covered it, Yahoo TV News covered it, NBC's First Coast News covered it. And I mean, so many others. And also the Ellen DeGeneres show saw it, and they also interviewed me and my family 3 times, and we're now being considered for coming on their next season. And so it's just amazing just to see how, all of these things have happened, and how, God really blessed me to overcome all of those obstacles to get to this point in my life. And even I remember people and professors actually who told me that, I should just give up on trying to get into MSM because, it wasn't realistic, or that I should give up on trying to be this concert pianist because, I wasn't good enough, or all of these different things. And now, it's like they have to basically eat their words, because everything that they said that I couldn't do or that I wouldn't do, I'm now doing.
Right.
And it is clear the path that I'm on. And I really believe that I'm, making a name not just for me, but also for the Bahamas and anyone else who would want to come into this career in this field, and just setting the path for everyone who is coming behind me. And so this past summer, I spent touring the island, just sharing my story with church groups, youth programs, summer camps, and just trying to inspire so many people to pursue their dreams no matter what, and to understand that once you set your mind on it and pursue it and don't take no for an answer, it will happen.
Right.
And so the event that I'm having is going to be tomorrow. It's at the St. Andrew's Presbyterian Kirk. It's 6:00 p.m. And it's a benefit concert that I'm having in aid of my studies at Manhattan School of Music. So just like my dream where I saw myself asking for that $65,000, that's exactly what's happening right now.
Right.
So I've been accepted, but I really need the support, and I'm hoping that my Bahamian community and family will really come out and embrace me and help me get to this next level, and help me have the opportunity to represent the country even at another level, and to continue to be that natural ambassador that I have been. And so the concert is going to feature classical works, and within the classical genre, it will be also romantic, baroque, and contemporary works. And all of these pieces that are performed are written by some of the greatest composers and musical minds of music. So I'm really looking forward to sharing, what I've done with my 4-year degree at Bethune-Cookman University, and really to showcase, what a Bahamian is able to do when they are determined and when they just persevere and set their mind to something. And so I'm really looking forward to this event tomorrow.
Right. And what's powerful is that on this show, you're going to hear works from yourself. All right. And normally, we feature other artists, but we have the actual artist, Elijah Stevens. You're going to hear some of his work. Just a little teaser to get you ready for tomorrow. We shouldn't even play the whole song, but I'll play the whole clip. And so how much is it to be a part of the event tomorrow?
So if you get your tickets in advance, it'll be $25, either at Logos, Bookstore, or Customs Computers. and at the door it'll be $30, and then at the door also for kids 12 and under it's $10.
Okay, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. And so now, if persons want to reach out to you, corporate Bahamas, persons, individuals, and they want to reach out to you and maybe just be able to bless you in another way, how can they do so?
Well, you can email me, Elijah E. Stevens, that's ELIJAHESTEVENS @gmail.com. That would be great. You can find me on Facebook at Elijah Stevens. You can find me on YouTube at Elijah Stevens. You can find me on Instagram at book_of_Elijah. And also, you can WhatsApp this number to reach out for anything like that, 805-7657.
All right, indeed. We thank you so much, Elijah, for joining us. And we are excited about what is going to happen tomorrow evening. And then we are more excited about what you're going to do in the next few years. And we could just tell you now that you're making the Bahamian public very proud. And there's lots of young people listening right now. Before we let you go, is there any words that you want to share with the young people listening in?
Yes, I'd like to say, the motto of my life and of this event is with faith, all things are possible. And so I just want to encourage all of you who have dreams, who have goals, know that you are able to achieve them. And if no one has ever told you that you can do it, you can tell them that Elijah Stevens says that you can do it.
Right.
And that's my whole life testimony. I've proven it. And I've experienced it. I've witnessed it for myself, that you were able to do anything that you put your mind to. And so I want you to just go after your dreams, after your goals, and seek them out. Don't let anyone tell you no. And if you ever experience the door being closed in your face, build your own door or kick the door open.
Right.
That's the attitude that I take with everything. And so there's always a way. And there's a saying that goes, if there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
I find it to be so true. So go forward and achieve every single one of your goals.
All right, indeed. We definitely want to thank you so much for joining us on this edition of The Youth Perspective. The one and only Elijah Stevens joins us. The viral phenom from the Bahamas, of course, and he's getting ready to study at the Manhattan School of Music. And of course, he is raising some funds, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go, let's support, let's be a part of it, and let's help him to be able to achieve his dreams. But thank you so much for joining us on this edition.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Keep it exactly the way you've got it. Much more of The Youth Perspective.
I'm trying to be great, and I'm on my way, way up, way up, way up. It's never too late, and I'm on my way.
I'ma leave my mark. Ready, set, go. Ready, set, go. Ready, set,
I hope you enjoyed another edition of The Youth Perspective. Stay tuned for more interviews, more in-depth conversation, great music as we seek to encourage, empower, impact, and uplift our youth of this nation. Here on The Youth Perspective, we'll see you next time right here on The Youth Perspective with Keshagen Jamal.